Hello guys, welcome to IB360. In today's class, we will talk about reducing and non-reducing sugars. We have already completed oligosaccharides, and in the last video I was talking about sucrose and how it is a non-reducing sugar. So what is a reducing sugar? Any sugar that is capable of acting as a reducing agent. Usually we test this using Benedict's reaction, and a reducing sugar can reduce Cu2 plus ions to Cu plus. So you see the oxidation number decreases by 1. So obviously it is a reducing agent. It is acting as a reducing agent, and hence it will be a reducing sugar. Now any sugar which has a free aldehyde or a free keto group, that will act as a reducing agent. Okay, in an alkaline solution, a reducing sugar forms some aldehyde or ketone which allows it to act as a reducing agent. For example, in Benedict's reaction. In such a reaction, the sugar becomes a carboxylic acid. Usually, sugars act as reducing agents in their open chains, not in their closed cyclic chains. And when they are condensing and forming oligosaccharides, then they wouldn't be present as their individual units, as their monomers. So in that circumstance, only the terminal monomer is seen, whether that terminal monomer, that means the last one which does not form bonds on both sides, that terminal monomer, if that terminal monomer possesses any free aldehyde or keto group, then that entire sugar can be a reducing sugar or a non-reducing sugar accordingly. In case of sucrose, so this is sucrose and this is maltose. You see, in case of sucrose, the glycosidic bond is formed between C1 of glucose and C2 of fructose. Both of these carbons are anomeric carbons. Why? Because if we move on to their open chains, so this one is glucose and this one is fructose. The carbonyl carbon, here is the C2 carbon and here is the C1. So these are the anomeric carbons, and these are highly significant because we have to look for this anomeric carbon in the bond, and we have to see whether these carbons are free or not. In case of sucrose, we see both these anomeric carbons, that is C1 of glucose, this one is glucose obviously, and this one would be fructose. C1 and C2, both the anomeric carbons are involved in formation of this glycosidic bond. But if you look at maltose, in case of maltose, the anomeric carbon, both are glucose obviously. Glucose has anomeric carbon C1. Both C1 are not involved in glycosidic bond. Only one of them is involved. The other one is still free. And this free anomeric carbon, when the cycle reopens and it goes back to the open chain configuration, this will be available to reduce. So this will be available, this will reform into this particular carbonyl structure, and this can reduce C2, this thing, Cu2 plus to Cu plus plus in case of the test we will perform. And likewise we can decide which sugars are reducing and which sugars are non-reducing. This is a very classic example, the difference between sucrose and maltose. In sucrose, both anomeric carbons are involved. In maltose, only one anomeric carbon is involved. The other one is free. And so when in case of a long chain maltose, if we look at the terminal glucose monomer, the terminal, that means the last monomer, the monomer which forms only one bond, because this will continue like this. Here also another bond will be formed, and here also another bond will go on forming. So if we imagine the last one, suppose after this there is no more monomer, here it continued, but after this is the end, supposedly. So if that is the case, then we have one free anomeric carbon still left, and this can go back to this open chain structure and can have the CHO, the free aldehyde available, and this can act as a very good reducing agent, this particular functional group. All monosaccharides are reducing sugars, obviously, because glucose or fructose, these are monosaccharides. So glucose has a free aldehyde group, fructose has a free keto group, so they're obviously reducing sugars, along with some disaccharides and some oligosaccharides and some polysaccharides. Monosaccharides, they can be divided into two groups: aldoses, which have an aldehyde group, for example glucose, and ketoses, which have a ketone group, for example fructose. So ketoses, they must, now this line is very important, this line is really important, ketoses must tautomerize first to aldoses before they can act as a reducing sugar. So if you have a keto group, like for example fructose, that must tautomerize, convert to aldose, and then only they can act as a reducing sugar, because in case of aldehyde they have this hydrogen which they can donate, which will reduce the substrate basically. Common dietary monosaccharides, galactose, glucose, fructose, are all reducing sugars. Disaccharides are formed from two monosaccharides, obviously, so they can be either reducing or non-reducing. So sucrose is a famous non-reducing sugar, but other than sucrose we have maltose, we have lactose. These are all non-reducing. These are all reducing. Okay. Here they have actually given examples. So non-reducing sugars other than sucrose, we have trehalose. So one is sucrose, another is trehalose. And why they are non-reducing? Because they have glycosidic bonds between their anomeric carbons and thus cannot convert to an open chain, form an aldehyde group. They are stuck in the cyclic form. Without a free anomeric carbon, you can't expect the cyclic chain to reopen and go back to their open chain configuration. So this is not possible, but this is possible. Why this is not possible? Because they have no anomeric carbon left. Both these anomeric carbons of the individual monomers, which are glucose and fructose respectively in this case, both anomeric carbons are involved in this glycosidic bond formation. But here that is not the case. We have still a free anomeric carbon left with us. Reducing disaccharides, they are like lactose, maltose. Maltose example we have studied. They have only one of their two anomeric carbons. They have only one of their two anomeric carbons. Okay, these are important. Only one of their two anomeric carbons, and in the previous case stuck in cyclic form, while the other is free. Aldehyde functional group allows the sugar to act as reducing agent. For example, in Toland's test or in Benedict's test, the cyclic hemiacetal forms of aldoses can open to reveal an aldehyde, and certain ketoses can undergo tautomerization to become aldoses. So ketones, they have to undergo tautomerization to become aldoses, and only then they can be reducing. However, acetals, including those found in polysaccharide linkages, cannot easily become free aldehydes. We will talk about this when we study aldehyde, obviously. But up to then you should have the proper concept of reducing and non-reducing sugars. We have talked about sucrose and maltose and why they are reducing, why they are non-reducing and reducing respectively. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching this video. Subscribe our channel IB360 and stay safe. Thank you guys.